Hi, it's time for Landlord Question Time, and we're specifically answering questions to do with the Tenant Fees Act 2019. I'm Heather.
And I'm James.
James, I have a really meaty question for you here. Okay, the Tenant Fees Act 2019. What are the penalties for breaching the regulations?
Yes. I mean, this is a question that a lot of our landlords are actually very concerned about, and they've been asking us quite a few questions on this. I should start off by saying that the people that are going to enforce this are the local trade and standards departments, and it seems that the government have given extra funding to local authorities to bolster their resources to make sure this is policed and enforced. Obviously, we're yet to find out how that's going to actually roll out, but that's what the message is that we're receiving. The penalties are £5,000 per breach. So that's not if they find that a landlord is charging, they'll look at every cost that they've charged their tenant and charge them £5,000. So you could end up with £15,000 on one tenancy if you've gone outside the permitted payments. And then they've done another layer of penalties where that if there has been another breach within 5 years of having a penalty put on you previously, then you'll be subject to a £30,000 penalty to basically, make everyone aware they're taking it seriously. And they have other tools available to them which a lot of landlords don't seem to be aware of, but there are criminal offences attached to this particular piece of legislation, and also there could be given a banning order which would prevent a landlord from managing their own property portfolio going forward. So, and that's not just to do with the tenant fee ban, that is under anything regarding, property-related legislation. So, but that's the level of severity that they are putting on this piece of legislation.
So I would assume that, from all these penalties, landlords should be looking at their insurance policies for a start, potentially getting perhaps legal cover, making sure that they are safe.
Yeah.
We know a lot of very, very good landlords who really do treat their tenants with great respect. And if it's just an oversight,
Yes.
That's the unfortunate bit, isn't it? Because they could end up with a penalty for an oversight because they haven't carried out to the letter the legislation.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give to those landlords?
It's all in the detail, unfortunately. They absolutely have to make sure their paperwork is completely correct from their application stage to their tenancy agreement stage to their renewal paperwork. They need to make sure they're completely up to date with their deposit schemes, requirements about the deposits, and the overall advice is don't try and find a way around it. You absolutely just need to keep going back to the permitted development payments, and if it's not listed, don't try and find a way around it, because it potentially will prevent you, getting possession of your property back at some stage if it does go to court.
So there's a lot for landlords to take in, and if they haven't already started looking at the legislation, they need to download that government document, which you've got. It's 56 pages long.
Yes.
Have you got it there?
Yes, it's called the Tenant Fees Act 2019 Guidance for Landlords and Agents.
Could you hold that up to the camera? Maybe they could.
It's a very blank page, but there's 56 pages of it.
There's lots of questions and answers in there, aren't they, which will help landlords understand the legislation, but they haven't got a lot of time to go through it.
No, I mean, this is classed as guidance, so they should always probably, refer to the actual piece of legislation if they're on a bit of a tricky question or take legal advice, but this will give them a bit of an overview and what's really required. I think overall, there are plenty of good landlords that want to do things properly, and it's a case of making sure that they don't trip up by accident, really.
Thanks ever so much, James.
Thank you.